It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and this is another edition of Postcards from the Pandemic.
That it
Cheers,
is.
y'all.
Cheers. Woohoo!
So good. So, Johnny Broker,
Yes, sir.
we're breaking down barriers now. And the barrier is white men.
I thought the barrier was that we had to be in the same room to be able to have a conversation. I thought it was
That too. But it's been too many white men.
Yes.
And somebody made the comment that there were too many white men on Postcards from the Pandemic. And so we were like, we need to branch out.
Mhm.
Let's start with a woman.
A great woman at
A
that.
great woman. Yes. So why don't you introduce
Batteries everywhere.
our first great woman?
Okay. Everybody, this is my good friend, Whitney Doel. I think you're going to really enjoy talking to her. Whitney's been in the great small city of New Haven for 14 years now. Florida native, which we'll talk about in a second, but lives in the beautiful Morris Cove area on your way out to the airport there and the beaches. She's in operations with Urbane, a design build firm that's in the new complex down at the district where they're located. She's also a CrossFit coach and very, very strong, so don't mess with her.
Do not mess.
She's got a couple of really cool dogs and, takes care of them, does a lot of dog rescue, that kind of stuff. Works the Boys and Girls Club. We were talking about she was with the Great Give. We talked about that last week. Just an all-around good person. Lots of fun to be around. Just know her from New Haven. But when I met Whitney, she had just moved here from Florida and was working with the Hole in the Wall gang camp. And Bruce, you know what that means.
Yes.
We brought on another person that's a better person than we are.
Exactly. This is another theme. This lines up right behind the white men meme.
Yeah. So the white men are going to shut up and welcome you, Whitney. So
yes.
Just say hello.
Hey, thank you guys so much. It's so nice to actually be interacting with you. I miss our hangouts and our, opportunities to run into each other and plan to run into each other. So this is really cool. I love what you've been doing.
I have to say thank you. But I have to say, again, we've talked about this, the point of intersection. The great thing about Johnny is he knows everybody. He knows all the good people. And our friend Rob Oliver is the same way. And then we've also been on this theme where it all seems to coalesce around, some of the great bars around New Haven, like Christopher Martin's and Trinity. And I just want to say personally, every time we would run into you, it was just such a positive vibe, and I miss it so much.
I do too. I agree. I mean, that's you think you'll go after work, just grab a beer, catch up, and to walk in and see you guys, or on a Saturday afternoon, go down to Trinity. Pat likes to go and watch the rugby. I'm just along for the Irish coffees. But how many times have we said, okay, just one, and then we've had the time of our lives on a random rainy Saturday or Sunday afternoon. So
more than I want to admit.
Now, we like to kind of start with this. Where were you when this descended on us? When was the moment you realized, and how did your life change?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I was kind of thinking about that last night. I had been planning actually to travel to Florida on the 16th, and I had a trip planned for a long time to go visit my family, and it was kind of one of those things as COVID was evolving, and it was in Seattle, and then it was California, and now it's in New York, and oh boy, here it comes. The New Haven St. Patrick's Day parade is canceled. That was sort of my wake up call of oh dear, this is no nonsense. And my mom, a couple times a day, she and I were talking, and, she was like, I'm going to send you a mask. You need to have a go bag on the plane so you can change when you get off the plane. I mean, we had this whole bullet list plan. And then the weekend prior to, I guess like the 14th, 15th, I just went ahead and canceled. Southwest gave me the option to get out of the flight. And I was at work on Monday, and as Johnny said, my office is in the district. So my office is right next to the district athletic club where I coach. And we got the news that morning that all gyms are closed, all, businesses, non-essential businesses are closed. And it was just sort of this, like, you almost just hear the car come screeching to a stop, like, okay, what happens now? And for me, I'm thinking, these are both of my jobs. Big breath. Okay, what's coming? And it was a little crazy. I mean, to lose the gym, which is, aside from, like we said, like seeing you guys out and being social in New Haven, that's my other community and family.
It was interesting though. We would see you after you had just come from like a big CrossFit workout. Yeah. Johnny and Johnny, you might have been working out too. I was coming from an afternoon reading my iPhone.
But Whitney, you're still teaching classes remotely, like by Zoom for CrossFit.
Yeah.
I would love to hear what that's like.
It's so interesting, actually. That was kind of, I have to give credit. A few of my colleagues and I that I coach with, we basically said, we built this. We along with Eric and Carla have built this community and this program. We preach that CrossFit is anywhere, anything, prepare for anything. You can basically meet us where you are. So we said, let's start delivering it on Instagram. So, immediately the next morning we picked right up. We started posting Instagram TV videos at first, just putting workouts out. And then a couple of our athletes said, well, why don't we do like a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live? And that basically has evolved into what is now, I have to say, a really well-oiled machine of Zoom workouts. And it's kind of cool. It's not interactive in the way that I love, like the loud music, dirt all over the place, you're sweating, you're yelling at each other. But let me tell you, there's still a lot of yelling by Coach Whit, a lot of in your face.
I love it. Whitney, would you yell at me to like do housework?
Yes.
Like, bros, lift that box.
Use your legs.
Use your legs.
Sure, that happens in their house a little bit too. So, how much is the CrossFit? Because it's such a community, it's everything I sort of love about this, being an athlete for many years. Right. Being together with people forms a pretty tight community. You get a pretty good percentage of them still, doing the Zoom classes?
We do. And it's actually been this really core group. So, when things were pre-March 16th, our 5 and 6 a.m. classes were really well attended, a huge group of just highly motivated early birds. And that crew is still showing up anywhere from like 10 to 14 people, Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings at 6 a.m. on Zoom. I do the afternoon classes with a few of my other colleagues. And, I just had 8 people tonight at 5 o'clock on a Monday. So even though people are tiptoeing back into that slowly re-entering the workforce kind of thing, they're still super committed to it. And people are getting equipment at home. We're kind of envisioning a world where maybe this kind of becomes a hybrid for a little while of, if you can't get to the gym that day, you still know you can get like a recording of the workout, or you can join in virtually somehow.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting piece of this, that, I think we as humans, especially me, I am a creature of habit. So there could be a lot of other good options, but I just don't want to hear it. I'm like, this is how I run my life. Don't interrupt me. But I do think, like, again, and we want to get to kind of your silver lining story or whatever. But I think in a lot of ways, this is making us re-envision things we had just done kind of by rote.
Absolutely.
And that's great to hear that you're saying that. I'm also interested, I've talked to some people who are, pet lovers, and you're a dog lover. How have you found that it's changed your relationship with your dogs?
It's so interesting, actually. And Johnny can attest to this. He's been over to our house, a number of times. I have my sweetest little angel, Mr. Henry Jones, who is a fan favorite, and he is just, the perfect rescue dog. Yeah. And then we have Chef Murray Moto, who is a little ornery, a lot grumpy, but it's so funny. I mean, this room that I'm sitting in was my work from home room for the last 7 weeks, and Murray has just become attached to my hip every move I make. I mean, it used to be I could come or go in this house and he couldn't care less. Whatever Pat was doing, that's what he cared about, and I was just sort of like the lady who brings the food. But this dog is like Velcro now, and I said that, as I start going back to work, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with him, because he's kind of, they weren't used to having us home all the time. They sort of did their own thing, and now we're here and they've been loving it. Extra walks, extra treats we have to be careful with that, but it's actually been also nice. Yeah, exactly. But it's been good, I have to say, just from like a mental and emotional health perspective, to actually have them and, to be sitting here or to take a break and just be able to kind of take the dogs for a walk or just sort of sit and snuggle and, hang out with them. They're so loyal and loving.
To give you a sense of Murray, Bruce, every time I go over there, it's usually like 5 a.m. to watch rugby with Pat, Whitney's significant other, Pat Pasaris, and Murray just kind of bares his little tiny dog, bares his teeth and snarls at me for about 30 minutes before he finally just kind of plops on your lap.
Johnny was the first person that Murray met the day we rescued him, July 4th. We rescued him. Pat had to go to work. I brought him to Johnny's house out at the beach for the annual 4th of July party. I mean, he has known him as long as he's known us, and he's just a grump.
Yeah, but that's fabulous too. And it's like my daughter Jessica has got a little pug named Lola, who's just so sweet. And I guess that's making me aware of, what that bond is like with pet owners and how important that is. And I guess we're seeing now in this pandemic, like what's really important to us. It's, there, look at that, giving us a nice angle there.
Excuse me, I'm going to start growling, so.
No, that's fantastic. And, I think people who do rescue, who rescue dogs, I mean, that's just like such an important thing. I mean, for both parties. Yeah.
I'm unmuting myself and here we go.
Yeah, let's let this rock. Johnny, let's just sit back and see what happens. What's going on outside there? What are they looking at?
They are looking at Pat on the porch, just watching the world go by.
Did he just get home?
He is. Yeah, he just got back a little bit ago.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Like, so Whitney's boyfriend is a good friend of mine, a guy I played with, Pat Pasaris, and he is a New Haven firefighter. So you're in a house, where you can work from home. You got a first responder in there. That's just got to be a little different during this odd time.
It's been, it's definitely caused us, I have to say, it forces you to, let me back up and say, I think that throughout this pandemic, there's been sort of 2 tracks. People who really have kind of, out of the gate, which I would say I am one, have been extremely concerned about, not wanting to get friends and family and relatives sick and so forth, and really trying to be diligent with everything. And then I think there is the other mindset of, we're all going to get it. We might as well, just go for it. But for me, we don't have the luxury of that situation because of Pat, the risk of him having to go live at the Courtyard Marriott for 2 weeks, or not being able to go to work. And he's a captain. He leads an entire team. So that's been a really, I think, interesting dynamic through all of this. Is just, it's not just me that I have to think about, and you really have to kind of put yourself into the scenario of all of his colleagues, their families and kids, and everyone around them. And I think that's how you get the sense of, you're just one person in this much larger community of people that are so important.
Yeah, I get that because my wife is an ER doc, and
Right.
it's the same thing. It's like, they have to consciously work on who's working when, because they don't want a lot of people to get sick. And you're right, have to quarantine. And I do think, it's been said a lot, but if I hate that it has to be something like this, but it does seem like as a society, we're all of a sudden realizing, who the important people are. And let me tell you, it's not disc jockeys.
Well, that's not true. You provide a lot of information. There's entertainment value there. I think everybody has their important place, but you're absolutely right in that, I think this has caused a lot of people in a really positive way to stop, collaborate, and listen. Just kidding. Thank you for laughing at my joke.
Word.
To really stop and
Girl.
but to sort of take stock of that and kind of look around and say, it's not about just me. And I mean, I was so impressed by the number of people that immediately, and I'm not a super creative person in terms of craft, things like that, but look at the number of people who immediately said, I know how to make masks. I know how to make sanitizer. Our local businesses who are like, that's it. Stop production. We're in the sanitizer business now, or we're in this business now. That is so cool to me. Just that, people on a dime were able to stop and say, how can I contribute here? Like, what can I be doing to help the greater good? And it seems like no matter how loud some of the negativity gets, those stories always find their way back in with a louder voice.
So Johnny, Whitney's jumped ahead of us, and we've gotten right to the glass half full. That's how good you are, Whitney. Wow, boom. But so I'll take it a step further. No, actually, I'm going to have Johnny jump in here.
Okay. And what do you want me to say?
I want your next question, because I had someplace I'm going to go. I've got a good finishing thing. It might be the kind of evolution of that, but I want you to get one more question in.
We talked to Steve Werlin before the Great Give, and he's downtown eating soup kitchen, obviously feeding the homeless, doing some really important work during this. But you were a lead for the Boys and Girls Club for the Great Give. How did it go?
Yes, it was unbelievable. I mean, beyond my wildest dreams and expectations. And I actually just started volunteering with the Boys and Girls Club at the beginning of the year. So the timing was a little tricky, when everything happened in mid-March, even thinking, will the Community Foundation still proceed with the Great Give with so many people out of work? Will people be able to give? And the thing that impressed me the most, so the Boys and Girls Club, weathered a little storm in the fall and came out of that. And they are, the work that they do for the young people and families in our community, for me, is just, it's so critical and it's so important. Just providing young people access to enrichment programs, a safe place to go, a place where their parents feel comfortable that they can get back to work and know that their kids are actually going to be safe. They're going to be learning. They're going to have access to sports programs. They're going to meet friends that maybe they wouldn't have met in their neighborhood. It just, the way that we all grew up before things got scary and parents had to be so careful. And so we proceeded with the Great Give, and the outpouring of love and support of, not $1,000 donations, but $5 donations, $20, $30, things that, it's just enough that someone can do. They care, they believe, they don't have a ton of money, but it's just enough for them to be able to help and support. And to me, that was like, I was over the moon. I mean, I didn't sleep for like 72 hours. My heart was racing. It was so exciting.
That's amazing. And so that leads perfectly into the finale, which is that, we usually say, well, kind of what's your glass half full? Whitney, your glass is really half full.
It is.
So is mine. And although I almost need a top off.
I have a backup.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, but I'm saying like, let's evolve that. Let's take it to the next level. Like look at Pat out there working.
There he is.
Is he doing yard work?
I think so, actually.
That's fantastic. What a man.
Showing off for the camera.
He is
what a
in
man,
the rain.
What a man.
Pretending to be
What a mighty good man.
Oh, there you go.
Pat! Homeboy! Yeah, so, what do you want this world what do you want our beloved New Haven to look like as we start to reemerge, and socially distance, and what's it got to be?
Honestly, I think, and Johnny, you said it at the beginning, this is like one of the greatest small cities, and I think this whole pandemic has really reinforced for so many people, and I hope they carry this through, that we are a small city. Our fabric is so interwoven with all of the different neighborhoods, the different communities. And if we can just carry that thread, like find those reasons to continue to reach out, even if it's from 6 feet away or via Zoom or, other ways to support each other. But just kind of remember, there were a time where a lot of us weren't sure if we were going to have a job, if we were going to, what this was going to look like, if we were going to be sick, if our family members were going to be sick. And, that was really scary. And when you looked left and right, we really propped each other up. And, it's easy to just fall right back into how busy life is. Oh, I have this, I couldn't return your call, I'm sorry, X, Y, and Z. But it doesn't take that long. Here we are, 15 minutes. And, it's all we needed, just to see your faces, a little dose of, these are my friends and my homies, and this is what I miss. But we're sharing a drink together. We're not out on the roads. Like, we're doing great.
Exactly. Boom. Wow. Couldn't think of a better way to close it out. Coach Whit, I want you to like rock me through my chores tomorrow. And I'm going to be like,
zoom me right in. Be ready.
Yeah.
I'm very loud.
All right. And who is that? Who's like right there now? Which one is that?
That's
love your dog name.
Chef Morimoto. That's the grumpy one.
Look at
yeah.
Look at that magnificent profile. And if only I could make my ears move like a dog can, like just to, Whitney.
Really
yeah.
Thank you so much. This was awesome. And I love everything you're doing. You guys are part of it. You're keeping us all connected. That's the most important thing.
Oh, thank you. I got to give credit to Johnny. Like, it was really his idea to do this, and I'm loving it. Johnny and I actually got to hang out in person last night. We sat 6 feet apart in the backyard. Yeah.
So good. But he's a connector, right? We each have our piece, and I just have to give a little plug. I know we're at the end of our time.
Go.
Johnny and I met, like he said, when I first moved to Connecticut, New Haven bar scene, mutual friends, the rugby club, I used to go to a place near my office, and he immediately was just like, oh, who you should meet, who you should connect with, who you should, and honestly, I gave myself 1 year in New Haven. 2006, I moved here, and I said to my mom, I can do anything for a year. If I hate it, I'll go home. Well, here we are.
Yeah, and I feel exactly the same way. And it's funny, one of Johnny's best friends is one of my best friends, Rob Oliver, and he's the same way. Yeah, and it's like, so I think that's the end lesson here, is like all of this is just about that human connection, and may we cherish it more based on having it taken away, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be scheduled, planned, face-to-face events. It can be as simple as, I've got 10 minutes. Let's just catch up real quick. Are you good? Are you good? That's it.
Cheers to that, woman.
Woohoo! Got my last sip.
Trailblazer.
I know, that's a glass totally empty. Oh, look at that. I love it. All right. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. I love you guys. Enjoy your
Love
evening.
you too. Be well, be safe. Be safe?
You safe.
Something like that.
Stay at home and safe. Safe.
Be safe.
Yes.
We're like
Peace.
a Merriam-Webster over here.
Good word.